Welcome back. We're about to start part 2 of chapter 14, test review. Just remember, you can pause or rewind the video if you need to go over a concept or to write down something. As we go through these, you need to make sure that you're circling the questions that you might miss, just so that you know you're supposed to go back and try that question again before your test. And then always, you're more than welcome to try your practice test online at our class website. Let's get started. Here we're trying to find the missing side length of the triangle. Remember, we're doing a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, and that'll tell us equivalent sides. 10 squared is going to be a. Don't know what b squared is, so I'm just going to say it's y squared, and then 26 squared is obviously c because it's the biggest side, or the side that's across from this right angle. Okay, 10 squared is 100. Y squared, not sure of. 26 squared is 676. Solving for y, I'm going to subtract 100, so that y squared is equal to 576. Now, I need to know what just y is equal to, not what y times y is. So what I'm essentially doing is finding the square root of both of these. The square root of y squared is just y, and the square root of 576 is 24. So y is equal to 24. The next one, same idea here, except now we're looking for c. Again, writing my formula first. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. I'm going to say a is 7.5, b will be 10, c squared, not sure of. 7.5 times 7.5 is 56.25. 110 squared is 100, c squared, not sure. Add those together, we get 156.25 is equal to c squared. And then essentially what we're trying to do now is to find the square root of 156.25. That is going to give us 12.5. An easier way to maybe figure that out, we know that 156.25 is close to the square root of 144 because the square root of 144 is 12. So know that my answer is going to be somewhere around 12. So you can start maybe by 12.4. 12.5 actually is going to give you that exact amount though. 19. This one again, you're trying to find this length, which is the hypotenuse. So again, 21 squared plus 28 squared is equal to c squared. 21 times 21 is 441. 28 times 28 is 784. We're going to add 784 and 441 together to get 1,225. And then again, just finding the square root of each side so that we can get c by itself. The square root of 1,225 is 35. I'm going to point out something to you really quickly. All right triangles have the ratio 3 to 4 to 5. So notice that 3 times 7 is 21. 4 times 7 is 28. So 5 times 7 would give you this missing side length, which is the 35 feet. Just a little hint. 20, plot the points 3, 5 and 2, 1. Here's 3, 5, 2, 1. Find the distance between the 2 points. You're finding this line right here. You can do this in multiple ways. You can use the distance formula, or you can pretend that this is a right triangle. So this length is 1, this length is 1, 2, 3, 4. And we don't know what this one is, okay? Or you can use the distance formula, either one. I'm going to show you both ways. The Pythagorean theorem, you've had 1 squared plus 4 squared is equal to c squared. 1 squared is 1, 4 squared is 16. 1 plus 16 is 17. So the answer of C is the square root of 17. If you want to pause the video here, you can. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and erase this and try and do the distance formula. Remember, distance formula is the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. I'm going to say 3 is x1, 5 is y1. Remember, everything that's first is x, everything that's second is y. Then 2 will be x2, 1 will be y2. I'm going to go and fill in these numbers. x2 minus x1, that would be 2 minus 3 squared plus y2, 1 minus y1, 5. 1 minus 5 squared. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Notice how we have some similarities with the previous way we just did that. Negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 4 squared is 16. Still adding 1 and 16, we get 17. We can't solve that because 17 is not a perfect square, so we're going to leave it like that and go on to our next question. So just keep in mind, you can either do, for these types of questions, you can do the distance formula. The distance formula, you do not need the picture of the coordinate plane, or you could do the Pythagorean theorem. And that one you can use when you do have the picture of the coordinate plane. Either one will work though. So here we go. This one, obviously they want you to use the distance formula because they don't have the picture of the Pythagorean of the coordinate plane. So I'm going to go and write my distance formula. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 parentheses squared. I'm going to say negative 3 is x1, 6 is y1, 5 is x2, negative 9 is y2. Plugging it in. x2 minus x1, that would be 5 minus negative 3 squared plus y2 minus y1, negative 9 minus 6. Gotta remember your subtracting integer rules. When you are subtracting a negative, remember that's going to be plusing a positive. Keep, change, change. Keeping the 5, changing subtraction to addition, changing negative 3 to positive 3. 5 plus positive 3 now is going to be 8. The first one's going to be 8 squared. Over here, keep, change, change again. Keep negative 9, change minus to addition, change 6 to negative 6. Negative 9, negative 6 make negative 15. So then we've got 8 squared, which gives us 64. And then we've got negative 15 squared. It's going to give us 225, I believe. Adding those together, we get 289. I'm just going to double check real quick to see if that is going to give us a perfect square. I think it might. I think it actually might be 17. What you think, guys and girls? Boom, 17. So this one is going to give us a perfect square, so we don't leave it in the square root symbol. Because it's a perfect square, we can give our full number, our whole number. Okay. Otherwise, we just leave it in the square root symbol like the number 20 we just did. 22, again, that's a distance formula one. x1, y1, x2, y2. Here's my distance formula. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. x2 minus x1, 3 minus negative 2 squared plus y2 minus y1, negative 1 minus 7 squared. 3 minus negative 2, again, I'm going to show you a different color here so you can see the differences. Plusing positives, so that's 3 plus positive 2, which is 5. And then over here, keep changing again. Negative 1 minus 7 actually means negative 1 plus negative 7. That would give us negative 8 squared. 5 squared is 25. Negative 8 squared is 64. 25 adding to 64 gives us 89. We do not know the square root of 89. We only know the square root of 81. So we're going to keep it just like that for number 22. And then these last few are just going to say, is this a right triangle? Describe or show your method you use. So I'm just going to show you the method that I used. I went ahead and just wrote down my two Pythagorean theorems. I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem because that's the easiest way for me. Remember, A and B are going to be the legs. C is the hypotenuse. C is always the longest side. So C and number 23 is 18. Over here, number 24, this one was C, so I can also just go ahead and put those together too. Here we go. A squared is going to be 4 squared, B squared is 17 squared, and then C squared is 18 squared. 4 squared is 16. 17 squared is 289. And 18 squared is 324. If this is going to be correct, 16 plus 289 equals 324. It doesn't look like it does, so I'm just going to put this line through it and say, nope, that is not equal to one another. And then I would just write no, because a squared plus b squared doesn't equal c squared. Okay, let's see if we might get something else for this guy. 10.5 squared plus 10 squared is equal to 14.5 squared. I don't know, we'll figure it out. 10.5 squared is 110. Sorry about that. Continue on. 10.5 squared is 110.25. 10 squared is 100. 14.5 squared is 210.25. Because a squared plus b squared does equal c squared, we're going to say yes for number 24. And then you can just write simply, because a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Ta-da! Now that we're done, you can go back and make sure that you have all the correct answers and questions. Remember, you can also try the practice test online at our class website, and make sure that you've circled the ones that you got wrong, so those are the ones that you'll get to practice. Thanks for tuning in.